Hello everybody and welcome back to another video by GripBeats. Today we're going to be experimenting again with the GripBeats desktop app. I just happen to be using it for Mac, but it's also available for Windows. I'm specifically going to be playing with the chord maker. This is something we covered either in the first or second part of the Exploring the GripBeats desktop app series. And I'm just going to explore it a bit further. So without any further ado, let's get started. As you can see, I've got two GripBeats here. I want to be using two today. Doesn't matter what color they are, but the purple one I know has the GripBeats desktop app patch flashed to it. So this is the one that's going to control the parameters within the GripBeats desktop app. And if I remember correctly, the red one has the GripBeats patch Charlie flashed onto it. So with this, I should be able to do 90-degree block chord gestures. I've got a power bank which I'm using to charge the GripBeats, but of course this is a basic USB to USB-C cable you can use to plug into the mains also. The purple one should be charged now. I'm now going to do the same for the red one. In the meantime, I'm going to connect this purple one, so here we go. Turn on the GripBeats device. Go to Audio MIDI Setup for Mac. Find your GripBeats device, this one. Click Connect. Make sure it shows Disconnect, indicates that it's connected. Then you can go to, assuming it's the one you're using with the GripBeats desktop app, go to the GripBeats desktop app. I'm just going to choose purple because it's purple. Again, this is a preference, matter of preference. Refresh the inputs here. Select GripBeats Bluetooth, expand, and you should see live data. So that implies everything is connected and working. You can then put it on your hand or wherever you want to put it on your body. And then you probably want to calibrate it again. You can see the data is triggering without me doing anything. So to calibrate, I click and hold the power button for 2 pulses. I say pulses because they're vibrations within the device. Wait a second, wait for it to go boom boom, that means it's calibrated. And now you can see as I do this rotation, I get response on the pitch, and this rotation, I get response on the roll. Also, on this rotation, I get response on the yaw, so that's good. If you want to change that data, as you know from our previous tutorials, you could do so by, for example, if you want, this should actually be the legitimate roll, and this the respective pitch, but you can see they're interchanged right now. So we have this little I button to interchange those. So now you can see that my roll is indeed the roll categorized here, and pitch is indeed there. Pitch seems to be correctly mapped to positive, negative. I want roll to be negative here. So I'm going to calibrate by clicking the minimum and maximum here. That also defines the full range that I want to control. And pitch is surprisingly spot on. I've got my maximum pitch there, min pitch there. For yaw, that's a max, that's min. So that's actually very accurate. Usually I have to calibrate these. You've got acceleration values you can see for X, Y, Z there, that's quite good. So that's X positive. Oh, that's X positive. That's Y, right? You kind of have to test these. Z, I wonder what Z is, up and down like this. Okay, that's, or Z if you're from North America. X, is that Y? This has to be Y. And okay, so X is left to right, Y is forward and backwards, and Z or Z is up and down. So that's good to know. We might have time to use those today. So I'm going to click Effect, expand to the chord maker here. We're going to go with 3 slices. You'll find that we already have chords already predefined to each slice. So when you do click chord here, you'll start to trigger chords when you have your hand in that respective slice or segment of the full 360 degrees angle here. If you feel that you want more slices, you can click here and choose as many as you like. It doesn't currently have the custom option, but there's enough slices here to choose from, up to 8, and then 32 if you really want to. And then it just becomes a case of trying to find that the precision spot. Each of these is a different, oh, I see that we don't have, after what number is it? We don't have them predefined. After 11, we don't have them predefined. So today we might get to the point of defining the chords ourselves. So I'm now going to go to the output here, choose your respective channel driver. I choose IOC driver bus, which we created in a previous tutorial. I'm then going to simplify I'm now on Ableton, my channel to one MIDI track, and I'm going to find my instrument. I'm going to try to find something like, I always use ethereal bells, just because it's nice and clean and sustains, but let's try. Okay, you want to arm the track, make sure you've got the right input, and of course, because we're limited to only 11 sounds here, I'm going to go with 8. So now you should hear the chords. So the way this works, as you can probably assume from the video, is my hand using the roll rotation here, I don't even need to be using the others, is mapped to the respective slices. It's assigned to each of these segments of this 360-degree circle, and each one is mapped to a predefined chord. So I like that major chord there for 4. I like that also. You might assume that the first 4 here are the same chords for the first 4 if you just choose 4, but let's see if that's the case. It is true, okay. So if you really just like the first 4, you can just reduce the number of slices to 4 and get more space to access those. Now, there is a way to define the chords yourself. We'll get to that, but before we do that, I want to show you how you can actually just change the tonality of those chords themselves. So you can see here in the mode, if you click there, you have a whole selection of different scales to choose from. You can either click or click and hold. And we're just on chromatic. Let's try Ionian. I might go for 5 slices just to have more options. So I would recommend, especially if you don't want to get too technical in terms of defining the chords yourselves, just choosing the chords from here and choosing the tonality, choosing the number of slices and then choosing the slices, and then experimenting with what feels good for you. Notice how rotation basically locates the position of that chord, but squeezing the pressure center is what triggers the chord, which means that if you really wanted to, you could also map the roll, the same rotation, to a sound effect within Ableton, or the DAW that you're using, digital audio workstation, and therefore, after squeezing, control the sound. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mute the other gyroscopes because I don't want to accidentally use those to trigger the parameters in here, including the acceleration and the pressure. Sorry, mute. And then I'm going to go to Ableton and I'm going to choose, let me choose have pressure for now. I'm going to find an effect which I like. That's quite cool. That's quite cool. Not too fond of that. Oh, that's interesting. So honestly, I'm going to go with these 2. So you want to make sure that everything other than roll is muted, so mute that. Then go to Command M to MIDI map, and I'm going to choose this one, rotate, this one, rotate, and you'll know it's mapped when it shows, I was just rotating there, maybe I'll show you that again. You can delete the mappings by doing backspace. Click on where you want to map, click on it, and then rotate, and then it will assign. You'll see the 234. It may not necessarily be strictly that number when you do the mapping, but it means that it's mapped. So now when you come off, Command M, you'll see the rotation is now mapped to that respective control. So if we go back to Ableton, the GripBeats desktop app, unmute the pressure sensors. You don't need the others to be unmuted. We just need pressure and roll to be activated for this. When I trigger the chord and then rotate, I'm going to get this kind of control now of the low pass filter and resonance. Turn that up for an added effect. Now, of course, the roll rotation is specifically this motion, but sometimes it's a much more natural human motion to just include a little bit of wrist action. So it also looks better in the performance. Now, you may feel that you don't necessarily want to have to squeeze the pressure sensors in order to trigger those notes. And in order to do that, you can change to what's called free mode by clicking this button. And now in theory, okay, so I take back what I said. This mode is not without needing to press the pressure sensors. You still need to press the pressure sensors, but in a way you don't have to. But the difference here is you don't have to hold on to the pressure sensors. You just find the location and then you squeeze, for example. But it's not. The only thing is you can't see that visually, so you have to rely for the current interface. That is the current version of this interface. But you can reference the roll rotation here. Okay, I beg your pardon. You can see the rotation when it's not being triggered. What's happening right now is the pressure sensors are being triggered without me squeezing them. So what would help is to recalibrate the device so that pressure sensors are recorded as 0 here. So what I might even do is tighten the strap, squeeze a little bit, recalibrate with 2 clicks, wait. Alright, make sure your roll is according to, the range is according to what you want, min, max, great. See, my pressure sensors are being triggered now, so let's see if I can reduce the sensitivity, if that helps. They're still being triggered. Let's refresh again, calibrate. Interesting. So the pressure sensors are being triggered here. Return the sensitivity. Yeah, that's the only thing. I see what's going on. So pressure in this case mutes the output. So if you want to, it's done on a release basis, basically in free mode. You see that? And then mute change the chord. Mute. Mute. Let's try 4. See, my right hand is just subconsciously wanting to interact with this, which is perfectly possible. What I could do is flash the GripBeats desktop patch to another GripBeats device. This one currently is Charlie, so I'm not going to spend 5 minutes flashing that right now, but what I could do is have 2 GripBeats desktop flashed devices, and this one is playing the chords and this rotation, and then this one here could be tonality or reverb. It could be anything you like, using the same MIDI mapping technique process I showed you already. Mute. 5. What I'm trying to experiment with is triggering a chord which might be on the maximum side of the rotation, but also having control, being able to not trigger the maximum of the effect dial. Now, the way we would do that with 2 hands is that the left hand would already be on the minimum, so that they were separated, but in this case it's difficult because you already trigger the maximum of the low pass filter there. So we'd have to, in order to do that, we'd have to do it. It would have to be a software update allowing us to do like a secondary or conditional control. For example, one release kind of locks in the chord position, and then the second release is the sound. That could be a little button, little option here we could have, but for now it's very much instantaneous. Again, we're just exploring. So you might find you want a different scale, so Lydian. Let's go to chord 2. I know there's quite an attack on this chord, this instrument, so I'm going to turn the attack down, so hopefully it's not so sharp in a way. Let's go to chord 3. Alright, that was very sharp, honestly. Actually, I might as well show you how in this GripBeats desktop app you can also activate the arpeggiator, which allows you to play the chords but broken, like this. Change the tempo. You change the actual direction and the subdivision, which is essentially the rhythm. You can even map the arpeggiator. You can map the arpeggiator to a certain axis, so it's not necessarily automated. So I mean, we already have a couple of things mapped to roll, but let's see how roll now also maps to the tempo. But honestly, what you probably want to do is map it to something else like yaw. So that the tempo will be slower. It's quite a good rhythm there. Just going to mute it a second. The probably art here would be to try to find the way to change the effect without necessarily changing the tempo, and that's about finding the sweet difference between the roll and the yaw positions. So you probably want to make yaw less sensitive, so I'm going to go with the full range there. Honestly, I'd like my minimum for yaw to be here. There you go. There you go, that's one way you can use the arpeggiator to experiment also. I did say I was going to help you in working out how to make the chords, so I'm going to do that now. Let's go with 16 slices here. Yeah, because we know that we only get 11 and then the rest are empty. So, what's going on here? Turn off the yaw, go to pressure mode. Let's readjust this sensitivity. Let's just say this is maximum. Okay, this makes it a little simpler for me. So, let's say we want to map 12, right? And we want to trigger some chords. It's not the most practical method, but this is how you do it. So, you would, if I remember correctly, come off of chord, play the chord you want. So I'm going to play it. I'm going to play D major here. Alright, that's a D major chord with the octave. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click store. And that suggests that it's now stored to 12. So if I click chord now and I go to 12, I now get the D major chord. So notice how all the others above 11 are still empty. 12, if I can get to it, is now D major. So again, the way I did that was, let's try 13. Notice how 13 has, nothing, right? So go to 13, unclick chord, let's go with a C major. Right, store. It shows that it's now stored on 13. After you click store, click chord, and now if you go to 13, we should get C major. It's only showing us some of those notes there on the tablature here on the sheet music, but we know from listening to it that it's exactly what we recorded before. And 12 will still be the D major. Now, if you want to save this, you want to click save, and it will be saved as, I think it's a JSON or a basic document file. Save that in a folder on your computer, and then you can actually load that later, and the chords you defined will be saved. So you can actually have the chords you created, that experience, ready to be used again. And there you go. So there you go, that was another, as brief as possible, tutorial on how to use a single GripBeats with your DAW using the GripBeats desktop app, using the chord maker, using the arpeggiator, also experimenting with the 2 pressure modes, one being rotate to locate, squeeze to trigger, the other being squeeze to mute. And we didn't get the chance to cover acceleration, but we will do that in a later video. And we also showed you how to change the tonality. So we're actually managing to cover almost all of the content here on the GripBeats desktop app now. In our next video, we'll show you the acceleration, how to map these to various inputs or outputs within your DAW. For example, playing drums like this, you'll actually see. You'll actually see if I turn the acceleration on now, that we are triggering individual notes with acceleration. And of course, these aren't the best sounding or the nicest sounding. And so you'd probably want to learn how to map those. Some of you will probably be able to work that out intuitively, but we'll cover that in the next video. So otherwise, that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions or you want to contact us for any reason, please don't hesitate to do so. We're available. See you at the next tutorial. Bye-bye.